your odor comes from internally. It comes almost from emotions, like fear and anxiety. Like if you have a pretty calm day, you could use no deodorant and have no scent. Whereas it's kind of almost lifestyle. It's causing. This is one thing I've heard and read.
Welcome to the Optimum Human Podcast, the show that interviews the world's top experts in fitness, nutrition, mindset, and beyond. Let's get into the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Optimum Human Podcast. My name's Brian McKay. This is take 2 of yet another Optimum Human Podcast. My co-host being Claude Petroulis. Claude, sir, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. I think I've got my answer down pat this time, so I'm doing very well, Brian.
Good.
Thank you for asking.
Good. And our guest, Mrs. Kelly Bonanno, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. I apologize for having to do this twice, but fortunately we're only a few minutes in, so nothing quite like authenticity and letting people know that you forget to hit record sometimes.
It happens.
So anyways, as you were saying, before I recalled that I didn't hit record, who are you? What is it that you do, and how did you get to this point in your life serving people the way that you do?
Well, first, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. So glad that you were able to come on today.
And that you're still here.
Right.
I'm hanging in there. So I'm an organic beauty and eco-friendly living and wellness coach specialist. So I teach people how to detox their beauty and personal care routine and to detox their home and live a more eco-friendly lifestyle. And I also teach holistic wellness methods and habits so people can improve their health and increase longevity. And my focus is to help people really improve their health by minimizing their body's toxic burden. So when you detox and you go green with your beauty and personal care routine and you go as green as you can with your home and lifestyle, you really do reduce your body's toxic burden, and which increases your health. And the way I got here was I've always been very health-minded. My parents kind of modeled a fairly healthy lifestyle, and I grew up in California, so that's kind of the mindset out here. But and I've always been, I used to teach one of my first jobs in high school was teaching aerobics. So I've always, kept, and I've always sort of eaten, been a pretty healthy eater. And I was kind of recycling before it was the thing to do. I was kind of mindful about certain things. And then when I became a mom, I became, your whole focus is keeping your child as healthy as possible. And so I increased my knowledge and research there. And then when I was pregnant with my youngest, who is now 11, I sort of stumbled upon this man named Dan Jacobson. He's a California environmental legislator. And I don't even remember how I got on his email list, but I started getting emails from him, and he was teaching, imparting a lot of really great information about toxins in plastics and other things. And this was kind of all news to me, and he was saying how very toxic phthalates and BPA, bisphenol A is, and I think he talked.
How long ago was this?
Oh, this was
10 years ago?
No, actually, this was a little over he's 11, and I was pregnant with him, so really almost 12 years ago. I became pregnant with him in 2005.
Oh, so this is like before the fad of talking about BPA and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Wow.
Way before, actually.
Yeah.
And so when I told people, really, you shouldn't be using plastics and you really shouldn't microwave in plastics, they would look at me like crazy, So, I kind of look at myself as a bit of a trailblazer because I learn these things and I implement them, and I advise people if they want. I don't push things on people. And then sooner or later, it becomes more mainstream, and people are like, oh, wow, she was right. She's not crazy.
Yeah, she wasn't as crazy as we originally thought.
Exactly. And the same thing with parabens. I was ditching parabens years before. Now many products are paraben free, and most people, at least, they might not know about the hundreds of other chemicals they should avoid, but most people at least know about parabens at this point. So yes, that's why I kind of look at myself as, I'm a pioneer, and if I'm the one to sort of impart this information and eventually people catch on, or, people who want to be enlightened, they will. And I think that the other thing is, that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And for this stuff, I was ready a long time ago. And some people, even people in my personal life, they know me, they know what I do. And just now they're asking questions and being, joining my Facebook group and really getting interested and asking me what they should do. Because I think there's a lot more awareness about it. And I do think there will come a day where the awareness will be extremely high, and we will look at these chemicals kind of the way we look at cigarettes now. Like now we say, gosh, can you even believe that people thought cigarettes were not unhealthy, and women even smoked when they were pregnant, and doctors had no problem with it. The way we say, that's crazy now, I don't know how many years, but sometime down the road, I think we'll look at these chemicals and we'll say, gosh, can you believe we were using makeup and lotions and things with all of these harmful chemicals back in the day?
Yeah, I'm already at that point. I'm thinking, like, how are we surviving right now by just loading up on these toxins?
I'm there too. And it's a cumulative thing. It's not one thing you use one day. We're using so many products. And, I also advise people, you can change what you can, but there's certain things you can't really do anything about. You can't do anything about the Roundup they're spraying at your local park, or the chemtrails, or really you can only do so much about your workplace, if it's not your own workplace that you own, even in your home. People don't realize that carpet and furniture off-gas things, and it's,
that new car smell.
Oh.
New
now
poison.
I realize why it always made me a little nauseous. I was one of those people that never liked it like other people. Like, oh, now I see why.
Go figure.
Yeah, I think it's really weird to kind of get a new car and be like, oh, this is a great smell. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, get a headache and feel like I'm dying.
Right.
Exactly. Yes.
Smells like a dead body.
It's
terrible.
Yeah, it's just anyway.
Formaldehyde and everything else. Yeah, I mean, I think we probably lost all our listeners by now.
Chemtrails and new cars, that's it.
Right.
The good news is there's things you can change that are easy, and there are alternatives. There's so many healthy products, and that's what I think people don't realize and that's what I want to teach, and what I teach in my course is all the alternatives that are out there that really make it easy, and then also do what you can. I'm not militant about it. Some people, if you just want to go green with a certain part of your life, that's fine. Others want to go, complete tree hugger and change their whole life. That's fine too. But any, change you make, I liken it to eating. If you're a reasonably healthy person, most people are not going to eat cheeseburgers and, pizzas and ice cream and junk every single day for, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're going to indulge once in a while. But for the most part, you're going to try to eat your lean proteins and vegetables and fruits. At least most people. Some people, not at all. But that's what I say, the same kind of thing with your products and your lifestyle. Make it, at least for the most part of the time, you're making wise choices. And then you're way ahead of the game. So you don't have to stress yourself out about it.
Yeah, absolutely. What comes to mind is, being a nutrition coach, people often ask me, like, oh, well, does everything need to be organic? Don't worry about, the odd spice that you can't find organic, unless you're peppering your whole dish with a whole can of it. Like, worry about the big stuff and let the little stuff go.
Right. And the things you eat often. I mean, if you have a certain fruit most days of the week, try to get that organic. But if you, have one fruit maybe once every few months, it's okay.
yeah. It's just using a bit of sense and understanding. And when I was getting into this, I certainly asked those same questions as well. Well, what should I do here? What should I do there? Let's Worry about doing, the best thing 80% of the time, and the other 20% you can, cheat a little, live a little.
Exactly. That's yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. I sort of have that 80-20 rule where it's,
Absolutely.
exactly what you can most of the time, but live a little.
Right.
Don't stress.
Yes.
Don't stress.
Stress is just as toxic as most of the chemicals that you're stressing about avoiding.
Oh my gosh, that's like, don't get me started. That's a whole other.
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole other podcast. Yeah, and then that's another thing I teach is it's not just about products. It's about your lifestyle. It's about, beauty and health and everything. It starts from within. And whatever you believe of yourself and whatever you're, exuding is what's going to come out as far as, and whatever stress you're holding on to, and it's going to come out in some kind of way, in an unhealthy way. And, if you are holding on to, even just not to get too metaphysical, but, anger and fear inside, you have to kind of work on the whole person, not just the products you use or don't use.
I think that's where the term holistic comes from.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I say that, jokingly, but I mean, really, I've asked people that, hey, what does the word holistic mean to you? And people don't have a clue. It's about being a whole being. It stems from root word whole, WHOLE.
Right.
So, I guess my next question is kind of, where is your kind of starting point when working with a new client?
It kind of depends on where they are. Some people are further along and they're already using some organic products. They are already quite knowledgeable. And then others really have no idea. I mean, they know nothing. So it's individual situation. And I created an online course, and it's the same thing for that. Some of my students, they're farther along in their organic, and healthy journey, and then others are not. But whatever starting point they're at, they can learn and go from there. And the other thing is, some people, this is a big thing, and I'm sure you run into this. Some people, they believe they are doing the right things in theory, and they really believe it, but they're being greenwashed. And so they'll say, oh, well, I'm already using organic products. I use, X, Y, and Z products. And so what I really teach is how to know their ingredients. You have to know your ingredients, because then if you know how to spot a carcinogen or a neurotoxin or an endocrine disruptor, then you will really know if your product is safe or not, because there's no regulation. And so, companies can put whatever they want in their formulations. There's no laws against it. And they can even slap the words natural, pure, even organic, not certified organic, but they can do anything, anything they want in the marketing. And people, of course, believe it. I fell for it years ago. I was greenwashed. So I know. So that's what I really want to teach people, is how not to get greenwashed.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've actually got a picture pulled up right now of the ingredients list on a particular product that is in the name says organic. There's no certified organic label, but looking at the ingredients list, and the majority of them I can't. Once beyond aqua or water, I really can't pronounce any of the other ingredients.
Exactly. Yeah. And I kind of had a weird foreshadowing light bulb moment years ago, before I had kids. I was single, and I was in the shower looking at my shampoo bottle thinking, how can all of these ingredients really be safe? And then I immediately kind of dismissed the thought, thinking, well, they wouldn't be allowed to be sold on store shelves if it wasn't safe.
Oh, we wish that was true.
And then, a few years later, I start learning the truth, and most people, they're in there within. It's quite logical to think that, of course, because it shouldn't be allowed to be sold on store shelves if it's not safe. But there's no regulation, so. And even if there was regulation, the FDA would allow a bunch of stuff that's not safe anyway, in my opinion. So.
Oh, like all those nice colors, all the food colorings that cause God knows what.
Yeah, our food supply is atrocious. That's a whole other issue too. But
Yeah, it's a brutal state.
It really.
I actually had some questions about the organic products that are just kind of blowing up the shelves of most supermarkets today. In your opinion, like, do you think they're mostly healthy? Like, obviously, they may or may not be better than the current products out there, but I just have this intuitive feeling that there is some stuff out there that is just as bad, if not worse, and it's got an organic or healthy label on it.
Well, your intuition is correct. Absolutely. That's the thing. People think they're safe by going to a natural food store, Whole Foods or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's all about the ingredients. You look at some of the ingredients and you think, now some of them, yes, are safer, but safer is not necessarily completely safe, and your skin is still absorbing these things. And some are. You really have to know your ingredients, or at least have some kind of guidance. There definitely are products, and I applaud companies that are at least trying to be safer. And some of them, I think they just don't have the right research going on. Like, for instance, the Honest Company, they've had a lot of issues. I do believe Jessica Alba, I think her heart's in the right place. I think she started this company for the right reasons. I think she really does want to have the cleanest products, but it's hard to do them very clean. And so they've had some issues, with their sunscreen, and they use a few risky ingredients. Some of the ingredients they use, there's some controversy as to how risky they are. And I think they just need a little bit more scientific research within their company. I don't think that whereas other companies, I think they're claiming to be organic and they're completely duping people, which I think is almost worse than companies that, at least if the companies who don't claim to be, at least they're not lying.
That's true. Misleading the customers and everybody involved.
And there's some companies that at least they'll say that they'll list what they don't have, and they'll tell you that they're aiming to be cleaner. But then they'll list, and they use some safe synthetics. Is that ideal? Maybe not, but at least it's not a carcinogen. So there's different for products. There's different grades, levels, and again with clients, it's like whatever level you're at. If you want to go full on 100%, we can do that. If you have an eye cream that maybe has some risky ingredients, but you swear it keeps your crow's feet away. Okay, fine. Keep using that, and we'll clean up what we can.
Yeah, it's some people will not let certain products go no matter what because they're so attached to them.
Yes, that's what I find is it's a whole different spectrum, and green means things to different people.
Yeah, and you just got to fix what you can fix at that moment. But right. What about lavender? I've heard things recently saying that too much of it can be toxic. Have you experienced any of this?
Well, that's the case, I think, with all organic essential oils. I'm a big proponent of them. I love them, and they're very strong. And so you really have to know how to use them and what you're doing with them, and not to use too much. They can cause inflammation. And there's a lot of controversy about them. So, and lavender, again, I think a lot of this stuff is in moderation. I don't know. I'm starting to research and learn about essential oils. I don't know that much about them yet. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure about lavender and how much is too toxic. But I do believe that too much of any of a good thing is not good, but particularly when it comes to organic essential oils.
It makes sense. Too much of a good thing, right? Just like Brian and I, it's hard to say, but you stick around us for a bit too long, and we might start to drive you crazy.
So it's why we only release one of these a week.
Just in small doses, people can handle you, right?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Oh, my poor fiance.
So. To go back to your question as far as how I got here, when I started having kids, I worked in network television. Actually, my career was at CBS. And then when I had kids, I left because it was kind of a long hours, and I wanted to be there for my kids. And it was really long hours and a long commute, so I thought it would be a good thing to just take a few years off. But I still did some local reporting, and I started doing some writing, magazine writing, and then I started my own blog. And my lifestyle blog, I started learning so much about health and wellness that my focus became that, and that's how it kind of exploded for me. As I just kept doing more and more research on wellness and holistic and eco-friendly living, and that's what kind of brought me here. And then I wanted to I was just so passionate about teaching people about it and enlightening. So that's why taking on, coaching and creating my courses. And I'm also actually, I think I mentioned this, I'm going to start a podcast. So
congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely.
About all things wellness and healthy living and, eco-friendly living. So that I'm excited about.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, definitely look forward to hearing it. So I'm passionate about knowledge and learning and educating myself, and getting the word out there and enlightening people who want to know and want to learn. Absolutely. Speaking of that, what is your current area of study? What are you really geeking out on at the moment?
Oh wow, right now, as far as I'm kind of geeking out, is more rather than wellness and that slant is more spirituality. And I've been kind of on a more spiritual journey the last few years, and metaphysics and energy healing. So, and I really believe that I think I mentioned this earlier, like that has helped me even live in a healthier lifestyle as well. I've always loved yoga. I used to do it all the time. And then, when I have kids, I do make working out a priority most days of the week, but I just can't do as much. Before I had kids, even when I had a pretty demanding job, I could do, 45 minutes on the Stairmaster and do yoga in the same day. But now it's kind of either or. But
it's bad when a demanding career is less demanding than kids.
That's the funny thing is I thought I was busy before I had kids, but yeah, not quite. And it doesn't, even though they're a little, we forget it when they're little. But they're 11 and 14 now. So it's different, but it's still busy, and then the household and cooking and cleaning and getting, but so you kind of have to find some kind of balance. So I've been geeking out on like Gabrielle Bernstein and Marianne Williamson and listening to the CDs and reading their books. And I've done some energy healing, and that is just, I find that really has centered me and kind of brought me back to who I really am. Not that I completely lost touch, but when you have kids and you're just so focused for a few years. I kind of came up for air when my little one was maybe in, first grade. Like for all those years, you're just in babies, toddlers, and your every waking moment is, what do they need? They need food. Do they need sleep? Do they need a walk? They need the park, So I kind of started focusing a little more internally the last few years.
Well, I think that's a smart idea, because if you don't have anything, if you don't have energy yourself, how do you expect to help others, right?
Oh, it's so true. And that's something that I think people don't realize, especially we moms. And that is, if you don't have anything, you can't give your best.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a question about makeup. Not for myself.
What's the best makeup for Claude?
Yeah, I was going to say for Brian, but he threw me under the bus first.
Damn right.
Well, with the ashes, you need a good.
So, mainly, I see everything kind of being organic: hair wash, shampoo, toothpaste, feminine products, everything. But the one thing I'm seeing that's kind of very slow to adapt is makeup for women. And I'm just wondering what your takes on it are, and not only how unhealthy do you think most of the stuff is, but what would you suggest as healthier options?
That is a good question, and it's true. Makeup is really tricky. It's hard to do makeup well and make it clean. So that's one of the things I think women have the hardest time with. But there are alternatives out there. They really are. It kind of depends. Like certain things are easier to do than others. also.
Okay, so what could you give us some examples?
Yes, like a couple of my favorite lines are 100% pure.
That's the name?
Yeah, it's just 100% pure. They have a few stores here and there, but they don't have a store near me, so I just order online. But they have free shipping and free returns, so that makes it, easier. And they have a lot of makeup, they have a lot of skincare, they have hair care. So far, everything I've tried, I'm really happy with. I like it a lot. And then another company that I think does great makeup is Jane Iredale, and it's very clean. And they have some skincare, and they have quite a bit of makeup. And again, everything I've tried, I've liked a lot. As far as hair care, Innersense is very good, although 100% Pure has really good hair care as well. And another company, I think you're familiar with it, Pure Haven Essentials. They have great hair care and a little bit of makeup, but not a lot of makeup. But they do have some that's good.
Okay. And my next question, speaking on specific brands, deodorant for both men and women.
Oh,
and then we can dive down that rabbit hole, because that's a whole other rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Anything with aluminum is great for you, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's.
Yay, baked potatoes.
Well, it's funny because that when somebody says, "Okay, what's the one thing that I should, switch?" and deodorant antiperspirant is my number one answer, because they find these chemicals in breast cancer biopsy samples, the chemicals that are in traditional deodorants and antiperspirants. And, your lymph nodes are right there. Your underarms, they say, absorb far more than the rest of your skin. So.
That would make sense. It's a very porous area, like the bottom of your feet.
Yeah. Apparently your scalp also.
And they tell you.
Also makes sense.
Yeah.
And they tell you to rub your testosterone replacement in those areas, I think, anyway. So, okay, I think we're on the right track. It's a sensitive area.
And it's such a tricky thing. I mean, I tried, and that's another thing. I mean, back years ago, I want to say 20 years ago. Yeah, before I had kids, my oldest is almost 15. I knew about deodorant and antiperspirant. I mean, so that's another thing. I haven't, but it was really hard to find a good one. I was one of those back in the day trying the crystal, and people still use it, and I think it works for some people, but it didn't work for me very well. Or what I would find with natural, quote unquote, natural deodorants, that they'd only work till maybe 3, and then they started wearing off. Or B, they maybe worked for like a couple months, and then your body would get used to it. Or C, they wouldn't really be natural. They'd say it was natural, and then you look and you're like, well, there's propylene glycol in here. That's not natural. Or fragrance or something. So that was a really hard thing to find. The one that works for me, thank you, Lord, is the company I mentioned, Pure Haven Essentials. And I know a lot of people that one works for. And it works day and night. I can put it on 8 o'clock in the morning and be fine, still at 11 o'clock at night. And, some days I don't need it. But it depends on what you're doing. And, and also some days, even if I might not need it, I don't want to take the chance. If I'm just working at home, but, and then I haven't tried this one, but I've heard very good things about Schmidt's. Have you guys tried that one?
No.
What do you use?
I actually smell like chocolate. To the Pure Haven.
Oh, okay.
I thought you actually just used
I don't actually.
Armpits.
I do not actually.
That would be amazing. That's a YouTube video right there. I smell like chocolate all day long.
Well, and a lot of there's some DIY things that I think work, and I know some DIY recipes, and there's some that I talk about in my course that's great. But personally, for me, I'm just not. I just want something that works and do it. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't want to have to dip my...
is an egg white facial. If you take egg whites and do an egg white facial, it's a great little tightening facial. But I just mixing and taking all the time, it's just not I don't even like to cook, so I don't want to be making my own products.
Makes sense. If you're not going to cook, if you're not going to fry an egg, you don't want to put an egg on your face.
I do cook. I just don't like it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm more of a crafty person. I like to do crafts and creative things, but you have to cook unless you want your kids to starve.
Right.
And also because I'm so health minded, I have to cook. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. So.
Or it can be like the kind of low budget, literal meaning of the Hunger Games, and you just kind of run out of food, and then whoever cooks first, that's kind of the I don't want to say winner, but you pretty much break down whoever cooks first cooks for the whole family. That's it. That's the way to run a family.
Either that, or you can get your whole family on a 16-hour fast every day.
Oh.
Sure.
I thought you were going to say something crazy like skewer your family and eat them, but
no,
that's actually a good idea.
No cannibalism today, Claude. Sorry.
Cannibalism. Damn it.
Sometimes we have such brilliant ideas, other times not so much.
Yeah, it's hit and miss. So, Kelly, you were saying that's the one product you would say that if you're going to change, that's the one to do it, antiperspirant?
Yeah, if you're going to dip your toe into the green living, greening your personal care routine, that's the one. And another really big one, and I wouldn't say it's as equal because deodorant, I mean, you're using pretty much every day, and sunscreen you should be using every day, but sunscreen's the other one. But I don't think, some people don't use it every day if they're not going to be outside. But that is loaded with toxins. Really, the only safe type of sunblock is a non-nanoparticle zinc oxide. And most sunscreens have loads of toxic ingredients. So, and then you also want it to be non-nanoparticles. Some of them, they break down the particles so small that the nanoparticles can cross cell barriers. So that's a tricky one too. But again, there are some good sunscreens out there that don't turn you white and that are not, don't have harsh chemicals and no nanoparticles. It's just a matter of, doing a little research and education. And that's what why I kind of do what I do is it can be really overwhelming. I want to take the overwhelm out and sort of spoon feed those who want to be spoon fed and say, here's what you can eliminate, here's what you can replace, and here's how you do it. Because in my market research, I found the biggest thing is people are so overwhelmed. They're just like, how do I do this? What do I use? What do I avoid? And it is confusing. It is confusing, but it doesn't have to be.
Oh, for sure. And for us, we can kind of lose focus sometimes because we're living and breathing this stuff all day. And to us, it's kind of like obvious.
Right.
And sometimes I got to step back myself and be like, whoa, okay, this person hasn't had years of experience dealing with this stuff. So,
yeah, I have to do the same thing. Yeah. And I love that you guys are men too, because some men think, well, I don't have to worry about it. I don't wear blush, and it's like, do you wash yourself? Do you wash your hair? Do you use deodorant?
Yeah. Or how about your loved one?
I think you probably do. So, and shaving cream and all kinds of things. So men have to realize that it affects them as well. I mean, my target market, my brand is to women and moms, and my brand is the Savvy Girl's Guide to, like, my course is the Savvy Girl's Guide to Organic Beauty. But that doesn't exclude men. I mean, those are my biggest, clients, but I have plenty of male clients too. And more men are realizing. In fact, sometimes men are more interested because they don't want all the junk.
For sure. And Brian and I were actually joking before we got on the call, and we were wondering if we could be savvy girls too. But that talk is for another day, Brian.
Right. I don't know if we can be savvy. I think we can be girls.
Just girls. Oh, well.
Savvy means in the know, knowledgeable, enlightened. So yes, you actually already are savvy.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very nice of you.
I'm going to develop a new course, the Savvy Guy's Guide, too.
There you go.
I like it.
See? Or Savvy Dude.
Savvy Dude.
I wanted to get a bit into toothpaste. What are your ideas on fluoride? Many people see it as the Antichrist. Other people see it as they don't know what the hell it is, but the government puts it in water, so it must be good for you. So, what are your takes on fluoride in toothpaste and water?
Yeah, fluoride, I do see it as evil. It's terrible. Any research I've done just points to no good and not necessary at all. And I think, like, I have Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid issue, and fluoride is one of the connectors to that, and it makes sense to me because it's the only thing I can think of that I used all my life that maybe would cause it. And luckily I manage it, and I don't have some of the obvious symptoms. I'm managing it really well, which, some of the things, sometimes when something happens to me like that, it's like, oh, but at least now I know enough and I can kind of help, guide clients. I mean, I'm no doctor, but at least I can share with them some of the more holistic things that have helped me manage, like with thyroid issues comes dry skin and hair loss and weight gain. Luckily, I don't have any of those things because I'm managing it well. But I'm off on that tangent. Yeah, so fluoride is I think an evil thing. Would you agree?
Yeah, personally, I don't use Crest or whatever they sell. I use the more natural, non-fluoride based toothpastes. I have a water filter. Just generally, I think it's essentially a neurotoxin.
It is.
So,
yeah.
And I believe the Germans started using it back just before World War II. So I don't know what their purpose was for. So there's some theories out there saying that it's used to pacify the populace, but I don't want to get too conspiracy minded. But everything points to it being unnecessary. And there's been towns in the States which have opted to not put in fluoride, but then the government came in and said, nope, you got to do it anyway. So it's kind of a scary subject for me, because why would the government want to force you to drink this or put that in your body? It just does not make sense.
It does not make sense to me as either. And I've had water filters ever since I learned how toxic it was, because they put it in our water, and also a shower filter. When you're showering, your skin is absorbing that stuff.
Yeah,
and
I want to say it's either 30% or 70% of the water you shower in, you actually ingest through your pores. Does that sound about right?
I think so.
That does sound right. And also you inhale. You're inhaling,
the vapor.
Right. And chlorine is typically in water. And so I have a filter that takes that out, because, chlorine, when you're inhaling chlorine, it leads to fatigue and all kinds of bad things.
There's so many things that are kind of out to get us. And I'm just glad that now we've got the research and everything is sort of heading the right direction, so to speak.
Yes, and I definitely believe it is. And it is scary. I mean, if you just lose, there's just a long list of things that it's like, gosh, is anything safe? So that's why it's like I don't want to overwhelm anyone or scare anyone or, fearmonger. It's more about education and, kind of do what you can to live as healthy as possible, and everything else. I mean, eventually, who knows what could happen, but in the meantime, you just kind of educate and do your best.
Yeah.
But yes, I haven't used toothpaste with fluoride in years and years and years, and I have not gotten one cavity. So
there you go. It seems like
fluoride as a kid, I did get cavities, so
Imagine that.
There's a lot of research that says it really doesn't protect your teeth anyway. So.
Right. Well, I mean, we could go off on a whole nother podcast on, actually determining how data is and being able to skew results to find your desired outcome, but that's neither here nor.
I think it's important to add, though, that I think sugar does a lot more damage than fluoride fixes. So if you're gonna, I'd say remove both, and you're probably on a good path.
And the hidden sugars in.
Oh God, all the oses.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Brian, you sound like you've got a question.
Yes,
or several.
Yeah, life is one big question, but what do you tend to disagree with that other professionals in your field generally agree on?
That's a good question. Let's see. I tend to disagree with, well, the sort of all or nothing approach. You know, I think that people have to, ease up on, some people are so militant and you can't eat that. You can't put that on your skin. You can't, use that. You shouldn't have that in your house. You shouldn't do this. Your pets shouldn't be using this. I disagree with the all or nothing. And some people are so militant and they just won't have one little toxin in their home, and some of it is actually out of ignorance, like in one of my Facebook groups that I'm in, they were talking about nail polish and, well, what nail polish is truly 100%? There's nail polish that can be 10 free, at least it won't have formaldehyde and toluene and camphor and those things, but it's still nail polish. It's paint. Like, it's not going to be, if you want to do your nails, you might be putting a few toxins on your nails, but at least you can do it as cleanly as possible. So, and some people who just will never use nail polish because of it. That's not me. I'm more of a happy medium kind of person. But and a lot of people in my profession are of my thinking, which I agree, and I sort of resonate with them a little more. But a lot of them aren't, and they're way too. I call it militant about the holistic lifestyle.
Yeah.
Wait. So you're saying nail polish doesn't grow on trees?
Yeah.
That is bizarre. Yeah, like people get freaked out about all of these products that have been introduced just recently in the last 100, 200, 300 years, and then they're like, "What do you mean there's no natural alternative?" It's like, well, it's not a natural thing to begin with. It's like trying to find a car that's completely made out of, like, I don't know, grass or something. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the Flintstone mobile. That's about it.
That's perfect. Rocks as wheels or whatever.
Exactly. I mean,
so you just do the best you can.
Be realistic, exactly, and do the best you can.
Yeah.
Right. Which
it's just common sense.
Totally just makes me wonder when mankind started using deodorant.
I know, right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm genuinely curious. I may have to Google that after the podcast because I don't know. But at what point in humanity do we decide that body odor was offensive?
Was offensive, exactly.
I think it might have something to do with, and this is just speculation, but it might have something to do with our diets and lifestyles and all the chemicals and shit we put in our bodies. Because one of our mentors, Paul Check, apparently he says he smells fantastic. He has an earthy smell, I think, is what he describes it as. And if I'm wrong, he'll beat me up or whatever. But yeah, like I do feel like a lot of it comes from either food, environment, stress. So kind of like how cats or skunks can spray you. I think humans might be giving off similar danger signals with their odors.
It could be.
And they say, that your odor comes from internally. It comes almost from emotions, like fear and anxiety. Like if you have a pretty calm day, you could use no deodorant and have no scent. Whereas it's kind of almost lifestyle. It's causing. This is one thing I've heard and read.
For sure. And from anecdotal evidence on my own end, I do see that when I'm anxious or stressed, I don't smell as great.
Yes.
And,
I've never noticed that, but yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it totally makes sense.
It's body's a crazy thing, and I'm happy we've got one.
Yes. Glad you're not just a floating head in a jar, Claude.
That would be so badass, especially if I could just like float around bugging people.
I'm pretty sure you do that now.
Yeah, but I don't float, which would be like
Fair enough.
Epic. I do think we want to respect Kelly's time, though.
We do. With our
and sanity.
odd banter.
Her sanity.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what is something that you, something, some product, some thought process that you used to swear by that you no longer believe is effective as you once thought it was, and what did you replace it with?
Oh, wow. Let's see. I mean, for me, it's mostly when I was greenwashed. I was using some products that I thought were clean. And then when I started learning more about ingredients, we're not. So it's really products more than. So, I mean, I hate to, call companies out, but.
Please do it.
Well, for instance, Method, I was cleaning with Method, and yes, it's cleaner than a lot of them, but it still has stuff in there that is really not ideal. Jason Naturals, that company.
Really?
Some of their, and the other thing with products and companies is sometimes what it is some of the products within their line are completely safe and fine, but the whole line isn't. So that's one thing I found. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. The moisturizer's fine, but their deodorant is not. So
that's weird. I don't know why they do that. Like, if you're going to go in, just go all in. It's.
Yeah.
Well, I'm again speculating here, but I would imagine that some things are just so expensive to produce that they would be double their next nearest competitor if they were to use the actual thing to be able to make a profit. So it's I would imagine that at least plays a role.
Oh, definitely.
Money.
So you've got to be able to find that happy medium between getting people, the natural, organic, non-toxic products and still competing in the marketplace.
Makes sense. It makes sense. And I mean, there's always going to be a market for the next more organic product, but if you want to get on supermarket shelves and have a mass market, you're definitely right, Brian. You do have to stay competitive, or else they're going to be like $17 for a stick of deodorant. No, you're not getting in here, buddy.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's another tricky thing is some of the stuff is more expensive, but some is not. There's plenty of highly toxic anti-aging, and I'm using air quotes, moisturizers and serums that are well over $100 or even a few $100s that are fully toxic and not necessarily more effective than some organic serums that are under 100 or even under 50,
Absolutely.
So it's not always the case, but that's what I kind of say to people. If you're going to go to Sephora and spend $80 on a serum and $45 on a foundation, you may as well spend maybe $35 on a foundation that's not going to be unhealthy.
Sure.
Makes sense.
True.
So it's not always more money, but a lot of times it is. And I think deodorant is one of those things. That's a very hard thing, like makeup, to do truly safely and effectively. A lot of them are safe but not effective, or effective but not quite 100% safe. So
definitely, I've heard of this, and I've heard, my nail polish doesn't stay on now or whatever. But there's actually one whole thing that we sort of skirted over is cleaning products, and I definitely want to be respectful of your time. But like dish soaps, floor cleaners, like Windex, all of this stuff. What would your biggest piece of advice, your biggest warning to people be about household cleaning products?
Yeah, they're so toxic.
I know, it's a whole other podcast essentially.
It really is.
All right, so we've got you booked for 3 more podcasts. I feel like
I love it. Let's do it. one thing I think is really great is vinegar.
Mm.
I've cleaned with vinegar for many years. The problem is it doesn't always clean everything. Depends on how, sometimes grout is a tricky one. And also it's not great for granites and other certain, surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there are plenty of really great, alternative cleaning methods. But it means, oh boy, there's a long list to stay away from.
Well, you know what? We can definitely get your guide in the show notes for people who are interested in finding out about more.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
so
we'll definitely be
link to all that.
adding that in. So if you had to rescue 3 books from a fire due to the drought in California, what books would they be?
But yeah, during fire season, or the random earthquake.
Yes. If you had to rescue 3 books from an earthquake, what books would they be?
Wow. Okay, so I have so many books. It's crazy. I can't even narrow it down, and so many that are important. Can I just choose my Kindle? Then I can have all of my books.
That's a cheating answer, and I will allow it because I also have a Kindle. But let's say, what are your top ones, or what are you reading right now that's got you fascinated?
Okay, one of the latest books that has me fascinated, and it just came out, I believe, last fall, is The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein.
Okay.
It's phenomenal, and I've recommended it to many people, and they've had the same reaction. She explains things in such a kind of just pragmatic way and doesn't make it too, woo-woo, if you will. But it's just such a logical, happiness is a choice. And the more grateful you are, the better your life's going to be. And there's always something to find gratitude about, and forgiveness. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm so Pollyanna, because I'm not. But if you kind of just every day make the intention to the decision to be happy, and make the intention to, put out, because we are energy, and whatever energy you're putting out is the energy that's going to come back to you. And whatever you put out is what's going to come back to you. So you're really mindful about what you're putting out there, but authentically, and kind of centering yourself with even just a short meditation. A meditation could be 2 or 3 minutes and really center you in the right way. So that's a book. And Marianne Williamson, her Everyday Grace is one that really just changed me. I read that a few years ago. I actually listened to it in the car, and I listened to a lot of hers, but that was one I would recommend because it's shorter, and let go and become and let go, or Let Go and Becoming is another one from Marianne Williamson that is phenomenal. And it's the kind of thing where if I have an audio version of it, I'll listen to it, and then I maybe won't listen to it for a while, and I think, well, should I listen to it again? Oh gosh, I've listened to it 5 times. I'll listen to it, and I'll learn things that I'd never even heard the first 5 times. Mm. It's just certain things certain days, certain frames of mind, you're going to learn things in different ways. And then you had mentioned maybe resources. I've read so many books, as far as organic beauty, Not Just a Pretty Face is a really good one. But for me, I have my own, I'm actually working on my own book because.
Awesome.
So I have so much research and notes of my own. That is something I would definitely rescue in a fire, is my, my own research and notes for my future book.
Beautiful. Definitely look forward to checking that out in the future when you get it written. Now, I guess our next question would be, who is the first person that comes to mind, or what is your definition of the optimum human?
Okay, my definition of the optimum human is, somebody who's really mindful of living a holistic life in all aspects. So in the, the way their diet, the way they're eating, their products, their personal care products, their beauty products, their home products, and in their home, things they're bringing in their home, and just little things like, if you open your windows for even 10 minutes a day, you're going to have a better indoor air quality. There's so many little things you can do like that to live healthier. And a person who's not only living and practicing those sort of things every day, but also living from within, like I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, being mindful of their own frame of mind and the energy they're putting out. We become our thoughts. So, and our thought, you can get mired down in negative thoughts, and we all do, I do, but to kind of really be mindful about the thoughts you're thinking and what you're putting out there. So I think the optimum human is, but also living a little and giving yourself a break and forgiving yourself when you do slip up, either with your diet or a product or your temper or whatever. We're human and we're trying every day. And the optimum human is not perfect. The optimum, I think to me, the optimum human is just doing their best and also continually keeping an open mind and educating and enlightening and being very open-minded about things and not just saying, well, I'm already doing this, and keeping an open mind about, well, maybe, this method might be a little better, or this product might be a little healthier, and keeping in just an open mind about different things that come up and things that you might learn on a day-to-day basis, like oil pulling, for instance. Some people do it every day and it's very mainstream. Other people have never even heard of it. And I think that if you want to be your healthiest, be open to all kinds of different little methods that might sound crazy.
Except for waist slimmer belts.
Yeah, gimmicks.
No, it's
gimmicks.
Yeah,
that's simply Fitboard that Lori Grenier from Shark Tank bought into. Jesus Christ, what a piece of crap that thing is.
Is it that it's kind of like
you twist back and forth on it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, it just makes me want to shoot myself in the face that they're making millions of dollars off this useless piece of crap.
Well,
yeah,
it's
another thing. I think the optimum human, is just gets basic. Like, go outside, get out in nature, go for a power walk, a jog. You don't have to do crazy, gimmicky things to stay and get in shape.
Yeah, live a little, folks.
Live a little. Get good dumbbells and and live, full and alternatively, like, don't do the same thing, kind of test things out. Definitely. Experiment, and also do with what works for you. If you're not the yoga type, then don't bother, and if you're not going to sit there and, like, even me, I can't, I'm not at a point where I can sit there and meditate for an hour, but I could, I can do 15, 20 minutes.
You got to listen to yourself, trust in yourself, and that's generally, you generally know what you need. It's just kind of opening up your eyes and figuring, it out.
It's true.
Absolutely. Now, who would you want to hear on the Optimum Human podcast, and what would you want to ask them or hear them talk about?
Someone I think who I've learned so much, and he's really on the cutting edge, and a lot of things that I'll learn, I'll read, and then again become mainstream down the line, is Dr. Mercola.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Absolutely.
And he's been he's been kind of vilified sometimes.
Yeah, quackerized.
Exactly. Thank you. That's
I just came up with that word. So again, we're breaking more new ground here on the Optimum Human podcast.
Breaking something.
The internet.
I know some of his philosophies are really out there, but a lot of his philosophies that people thought were out there, maybe even 5 years ago, we now know, oh yeah, he was right. So I think he'd have a lot. I'd have a million questions for him.
I do.
So you have things with a grain of salt too. I mean, and I encourage people to do their own research. Also.
Yeah,
definitely,
absolutely. We always have to be our own advocate. A coach is there to help us and kind of guide us in the right direction. But if they're telling us something and we're getting negative effects, we probably need to listen to our body and not our coach.
Absolutely. And what works for 100 people might not work for you, and for a lot of things, like with the organic essential oils that we were talking about earlier. Some of them might have an adverse effect, but whereas they might help 10 of your friends. But and like I say, I'm not, that saying, I'm not the sage from the stage, I'm the guide from the side. I'm learning too.
I love that. I've never heard that before.
And I'm learning too. And I don't claim to know it all. And if I don't know something, I'll find out. I'll do my own research. Or if there's something that I was believing was true, but maybe there's some evidence that it might not be, then I'll get in there and do some more research. It's an ever evolving thing, this knowledge in health and holistic living.
Absolutely. Now, Kelly, how can our listeners find out more about you and find you and your Savvy Girl and Guy's Guide to
Life?
Yes.
Well, my website is kellybonanno.com. So it's Kelly. And Bonanno's tricky. That's the one everyone misspells. B as in boy, O, N as in Nancy, ANNO. I know you'll have it in the notes. And I have tons of information there, and there's a link there too. I have a Facebook group, which is the Savvy Girls Organic World. And of course, men are welcome. But it's just learning and sharing about all things eco-friendly living and organic beauty and wellness. And it's great because there's a conversation and you can, ask questions and get answers. And, if you're like, hey, I'm looking for a really great organic foundation, throw it out there in the group and you'll get, tons of recommendations. And it's really helpful. And I'm learning from people in the group too. And I try to help as many people in the group as possible. So that's a good one. And I've launching a course in spring of 2017 in May, the Savvy Girls Guide. My first course is the Savvy Girls Guide to Organic Beauty. So it's teaching people how to detox their personal care and beauty routine. And I'm also teaching some holistic, methods. And so that's one thing. And then also to get people started, I have a really great free guide. It's the Savvy Girls Guide to Looking Younger and without toxic chemicals. And it's just a really simple checklist of things that you can implement on a daily basis to look and feel your best. To look, I mean, let's face it, we all want to look our best and we want to look younger. Most people I know do anyway.
Right.
Right, Drew.
There was a time when I wanted to look older. Now, not so much.
Yeah, that time is long gone for me.
Right.
So, and again, it comes from the inside also. It's not just about products. This guide goes way beyond products, but we talk about products too because that is important. Because what you put on your skin, inflammation is one of the the biggest marker for illness and aging. So if you are putting stuff on your skin and eating things that cause inflammation and doing things in your lifestyle that cause inflammation, it's going to age you and make you look worse. So
makes sense.
Very true.
And feel worse. It's all about how you feel. The as good as you feel, that's how good you're going to look. And also as good as you feel about yourself. However you view yourself is how others are going to view you.
Very true. It comes down to the end of the day about quality of life, and
Definitely.
I think having all those factors in check, you can't really look too much more outside of it. If you feel good, if you look good, war with Russia doesn't look so bad. Well, I mean, it still looks terrible.
Claude, let's just stop right there. Claude, you're cut off, buddy. Love you, but no more talking. Kelly, my dear, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on today. It's been enlightening to myself, probably Claude, and hopefully our listeners as well. So thank you again.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's a blast.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely be in touch. So thanks again.
Yeah, and we'll have everything in the show notes. Thank you all for listening. And guys, we'll catch you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Optimum Human Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to head on over to iTunes and give a 5-star rating and review, which will help spread the word to more awesome listeners just like you. Head on over to theoptimumhuman.com and subscribe to the free newsletter and get the Optimum Humans Blueprint to the Optimum Life. Download it instantly. Thanks for listening.